My name is Dev T. Smith, coming at you live from Revolt TV. Shout out to Everyday Dope Life and the Influential series. Shout out to my girl Niyah for having me on. I hope I taught y'all something, man, for real. My name is Dev T. Smith. I'm a producer, director, I'm a writer. I work for Revolt TV. I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina, by way of Philly. I got my start in media. Man, I've always been a writer. I just never really it's just something I did. Now, I would say I wanted to be a journalist, but I went away from it because they said you couldn't get paid. So I was like, I don't know, I'll figure something else out. And I remember talking to my older friends, and they were always coming from this perspective where they felt like they were settling. They weren't saying it, but that's what I felt like they were doing. They just didn't seem enthused about life. And this was around the time when blogging was first kind of becoming a thing and even a revenue stream for people. Keep in mind, I want this to be clear, I never went to school for journalism. I never learned how to correctly pitch something. I never learned about actual structure of an editorial piece, none of that. I just felt like rules were being broken. That was a time of new rules. You know what I mean? The internet was changing. This was in the beginning when the internet was really starting to change the perspective of what the new normal was gonna look like. So I was like, shit, I want in. So I started this magazine just to try to be a part of the conversation. At the time, I was looking up to, this was when Elliot Wilson was doing Crown. I think that's what it was called. This was during the time of that, and I was just like, yo, this looks different. You know what I mean? And I looked up to that. I was like, yo, I want to be a part of steering the conversation. I used media to become part of the conversation. So I ran that magazine for about 2 years. I remember interviewing Rhapsody for our first print issue. She was doing a concert at my school. I remember going to the side of the stage, and I was just like, yo, boom, 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 would you do this for me? And she did it, looked out. Yeah, and I ran that for a couple years. We did a lot of dope interviews. We did Jeff Staple of Staple Pigeon. Did Greg Selko, who's the founder of Karma Loop, which was the first site to ever bring streetwear to the world in e-commerce. That was my medium to get into it. I'm a digital producer now, so I produce for web. I've done television series, web series, anything from our live discussions for Facebook Live or any type of roundtable discussions we've done, to editorial concepts and editorial series or big feature articles. I specialize in evergreen content, so you'll never see any work from me that can't be read or viewed 5 years from now and still be relevant in some way. My take on influence is that the word influencer fucked up the culture. It was these marketing companies and these brands that manipulated the audience to feel them like an influencer. It's like some internet cool kid with a lot of followers who's chosen by brands to be some type of ambassador or something like that. That's not what an influencer is. An influencer is somebody who their work, their voice, their perspective lends to the culture of any industry in a unique way that progresses the thought process of the rest of the culture. You get what I'm saying? I think that people saw being an influencer as a way to garner some type of respect for crafts that many people hadn't necessarily spent the time to perfect. So what you have is people with a high follower count and not necessarily ability that's a game changer or perspective that's a game changer, but they're empowered by the brands that everybody recognizes, because those brands are just looking at their audience that they can market their product to via Instagram and stuff like that. These brands aren't actually looking at a lot of these people and saying, oh, you are pivotal to the culture. or oh, your perspective is pivotal to the culture. Most of these brands don't even know what the fuck the culture is. They just know that black is cool now. You'll look at the person you're following on Instagram who's the same age as you, and you think that they got so much more shit going on than you. You know what I mean? You think that they're doing more than you, or making more money than you, or getting more opportunity than you. When social media is nothing but a commercial. Nobody puts the bad shit on social media. Could you imagine if Nike tried to sell sneakers and they put like bad prototypes on TV? Who the fuck would buy that? You know what I'm saying? So who's gonna buy you as a person, as an influencer, if you put all the bad shit on there? You know what I'm saying? And the way that I think that transitioned into affecting the taste level of the culture is because we started substituting high level execution for appearance. You understand what I'm saying? And that's where we got it fucked up. And because we substituted high level execution for appearance, we started letting anybody in. That's when you get the people coming in who don't give a fuck about the culture they're getting checks off of. But they'll milk it. You get me? And I think that right now, culture is going through a shift where that power is not going to be there much longer. I think that we don't need to wait on anything to cause a shift for it to go back to normal. I think it's a natural occurrence. You feel me? I think that if we look back at like 2012, sites weren't even putting out content that had a perspective. It was clickbait. Here are the top 10 sneakers that came out all day, or all year. Here are the top 10 songs. Here, it was list. It was no perspective, right? They were reporting on pop culture because they wanted to get the clicks, because clicks was about, ad dollars. But slowly you see that shifting. Now people are coming out with long form content. Look at Noisy Docs. Look at Blueprint by Complex. Look, everybody's going back to long form, and when you do long form, you got to be good at the shit. So it doesn't matter how many followers you got. Can you really do your job? You know what I'm saying? Numbers don't lie.